Hello everyone! In this week's video I'm drawing my sister's original characters. For the past 3 years I've drawn my sister's original characters as a birthday gift for her, so to stay with tradition I'm doing it again this year. I questioned Reagan about which of her original characters she would want me to draw. She said I could draw Lily or Logan again, and I was trying to debate which one to draw, but then I was like, why not both of them? And before I start drawing them and planning the illustration, I have some markers I need to try out, and you might be thinking, Becca, didn't you just recently try out some new markers? Yes I did. However, I have even more markers from Ohuhu that they sent me to try out. This time we are trying out the Kaala series of markers. This series was released last year and is a new line of markers from Ohuhu. There are 4 sets to choose from: the 60 set of illustration tones, 60 set of landscape tones, 24 set of skin tones, and the 24 set of basic tones. All of the sets come with a colorless blender, a plastic sheet to prevent marker bleed through, and swatch chart. The marker barrels are an oval shape. Each marker is numbered and named, and are dual tipped. The Kaala series offers a slim broad chisel nib, more about this in a bit, and a bullet nib. I always really love bullet nibs and wish they were used more often in markers. They're so nice for tiny details. So if we add all these sets together, we get 168 markers, not counting the colorless blenders. Since there are so many, I'm not going to make you watch me swatch all of them, of course. But like I mentioned in my other marker video recently, swatching colors is very important and makes picking colors much easier later on because you can see what they look like when applied to paper. It's especially helpful since the cap colors aren't always the most accurate. I find they are often much lighter than the ink that comes out of them. I did notice while swatching that the ink was feathering out or spreading a lot, and this made me a little nervous. But this isn't due to the markers, it's due to the paper that the swatch charts are printed on. It seems like they can't hold much ink, so it spreads out a lot. Oh, also I was trying to keep an eye out to see if there are duplicate colors. I found potato brown, bud green, lapis lazuli, sapphire black, buttercup yellow, warm gray 140, emerald green, and there may be more, but these are the ones I was able to find. I do think it's interesting that there are duplicates between sets. A lot of times marker brands will try to not include duplicates because when you buy all the sets you don't want duplicate colors. You might be wondering, out of the sets, which one do I like the best for colors, and I don't really know honestly. I'm thinking maybe the landscape tone set, but I like how the illustration tone set has more skin tones. It really depends on what colors you feel like you'll use. So now that I know what colors I'm working with, let's start drawing the illustration. I'm drawing this illustration digitally and then I'll print it out onto my marker paper. It makes my life a lot easier, plus if I mess up the coloring the first time, I can just reprint out my line art, so it takes a lot of the pressure off. I remember I used to always get really nervous when I'd have to do the line art on my marker paper, because then if I messed up or something smeared or smudged, I would have to completely redo the line art, but in this case I can just reprint it off and it's not a super big deal. Like I said, I plan to draw 2 of my sister's characters, Lily and Logan. They are twins, and I'm kind of surprised I've never drawn them together before. I wanted to draw them in a way where they were interacting with each other, but I was also trying to be careful to not draw them in a pose that made them seem like a couple. I wanted the pose to feel very fun and friendly. My first concept was to have them be back to back and kind of linking arms and doing peace sign poses with their hands. Like I've mentioned in the past birthday videos, I really associate this hand pose with Reagan's characters. So I have to make them do it when I draw them. The second concept was to have them be posing for a picture, and maybe Logan was giving Lily bunny ears. Honestly, with their personalities, Lily would probably be giving Logan bunny ears. I thought the idea was cute, but I liked the other one better, and I thought it better fit the paper size I am working with, which is 8.5 by 11 inches. Now that I have my concept, we can start fleshing it out more. Funny story, I had to search through Reagan's YouTube videos to find references of Logan and Lily. A lot of times Reagan will give me references to look at, but my family and I sometimes get on weird sleeping schedules, and currently I've been on an opposite schedule to them, so Reagan was not awake to give me references. Thankfully she has a YouTube channel, Reagan Doodles, go check it out if you want, and I was able to find pictures to reference. I have drawn both of them before, so I feel like I could have gotten the basic idea, but little details would have been off for sure. I was a bit nervous to draw Lily. She has a more pointy eye shape, and sometimes I have a hard time drawing this shape with my girl characters. I'm not totally sure why, I just often notice that I do. But thankfully it went smoothly, and I actually quite like how her face turned out. In my head I was thinking I would like how I draw Logan more than how I draw Lily, but it ended up being the other way around. I'm kind of more happy with how Lily turned out, but Logan still turned out nice, I think. I was having a bit of a hard time drawing him because I was trying to make him not too much taller than Lily. Based on the references I found, it seemed like either Logan was the same height as Lily or just a bit taller. I made him a bit taller just to be safe. Once again, Reagan was sleeping, so I couldn't ask her. I did ask later, and she said it was fine because she doesn't even really know his height as well. Anyways, this was giving me trouble with proportions because I tend to make my boys a decent amount larger than my girls. So I was trying to proportion them more similar, and I had to kind of think about it a lot. Also, I made their heads way too big at first. I shrink them down off camera. That was another thing I found tricky, is making the heads about the same size and proportion. I draw male heads a bit longer, so the girl heads end up looking wider in comparison. So I was trying to make it feel like their heads were proportionate and weren't too different. Since they're twins and they're the exact same age, I wanted to make sure they looked like twins. For Lily's outfit, I drew a sweater inspired by the one that Reagan drew in her sketchbook. Reagan said she really liked it in the video where she was talking about it, so I did something similar. I did not want to draw the checkered pattern though, it felt too complicated. So I kind of just did something inspired by it. For Logan, I decided to take some creative liberty and decided on an outfit myself. I went with a V-neck shirt with a jean jacket that has a hood kind of thing. I don't know, I was kind of just winging it, but I think I like the result. Now it's time for line art. I thought about doing another cleanup sketch because some areas felt a little rough. But at the same time, I was kind of short on time, so I decided to try to do the line art without doing another cleanup sketch. Plus, this one wasn't too messy. Like I just mentioned, I was short on time when making the art for this video. The reason is that my boyfriend came to visit me for Valentine's Day, like I mentioned in this video, and I did schedule for that. But basically, the day he was supposed to leave, there was really bad weather, and of course we didn't want to risk him getting into an accident on his drive home, so he stayed another day. It was really nice having him visit for more time, but I also didn't schedule my work for that extra day, so that's why I was short on time for this video. But as you can see, I was able to get it done on time. Yay! So now the line art is done and ready to be printed out. My printer has been having some technical issues, like always. That thing gives me so much trouble. But basically, I had to print using only the color ink cartridge, which results in the line art not being as dark as usual. I did make the line art colored in some areas, but the areas I left black, like the eyes, are kind of a really dark gray instead of black. I wasn't sure how I felt about this, but I ignored it for now. I decided to start with coloring Logan's shirt. Sometimes I like to warm up when I start using markers, so I'll color an area I don't really care about first. I'm making the shirt a solid orange with a bit of shading. It's really simple, so it felt like a good starting point. In the past, I would always start with the skin first, because if I messed up early on in the process, I didn't lose a lot of progress if I started over. For many areas, I'm okay with little mess ups, but when it comes to the face, I can be really picky. I don't like there being much for mistakes. I don't start with the skin now because, like I said, I like to warm up and try to get into a groove. Earlier I mentioned I like how Lily turned out a bit more than Logan. So I decided to make Logan be the guinea pig. Sorry, Logan. I wasn't totally sure about the colors I chose for the skin and shadow colors. Plus, it's been a really long time since I worked with chisel nibs, so it felt kind of different. Oh, also, earlier I mentioned that the nibs on these are slim broad chisel nibs, so they're a bit longer and come to a thinner edge. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really notice that there was much of a difference while I was using the markers. But when I look back and think about it, I did have a very easy time filling in even smaller areas because the chisel nib comes to a fine edge. So I do quite like it. So as I was shading the skin, I noticed the color was very pink and it doesn't really come through in the footage, but the shadows were very vibrant and pink, and I was kind of confused because the color I chose didn't seem to be this vibrant. But then I learned I grabbed the wrong color by accident. I wanted R195, but I grabbed E194. I debated about starting over, but I decided to try to work with what I had, and I'm really glad I did actually. It felt super chaotic in the moment, but I took different colors like R195 and E190 to go over the bright color and dull it a bit, and also darken some areas more. I feel like this mishap was truly a happy accident because it did make me use more bold shading colors and also encouraged me to mix in more colors. I'm actually pretty happy with how it turned out. For adding some light blush, I used R196 and blended it out with my skin tone E191. I was able to get a soft blush look on the nose and fingers. I was a bit scared about trying to blend colors with no brush nib. Brush nibs often make it easier to blend colors, but I had a surprisingly easy time blending these colors, and I want to talk a bit more about that in a bit. So far, Logan has been the star of the show, so let's give Lily some attention. I'm coloring her sweater green. Also, I chose the colors that I did for their outfits because Logan's color is orange and Lily's color is green. I was trying to find an orange and a green that seemed to go okay together. I think I'm pleased with what I went with. I went with a more yellow green instead of blue green because I felt like that would work okay. I just mentioned earlier that I was nervous about blending with the chisel nib and that I was able to blend better than I was expecting. I may be wrong and the ink might be the same, but for some reason I felt like this ink really easily blended with itself and with other colors. I didn't have to work very hard to get smooth blends. I'm going to ask the associate I'm working with about this, and maybe they will provide an answer. Future editing me will inform you of their answer. But yeah, these markers felt super easy to blend and it was really nice. I guess I'll tell you a bit about Logan and Lily, or at least a bit about what I know about them. I didn't ask Reagan to give me character profiles. I really should have prepared more for this, but you know, low on time. As stated, Lily and Logan are twins and they are 16 years old. Lily is the older one of the two, however Logan is the more responsible one. He often keeps Lily from doing not very well thought out ideas. Logan knows how to play the guitar and drums and he's really into music. He's teaching Lily how to play the guitar, but she does it just more for fun. They both think wolves are cool. I think Reagan gave them this trait because they both used to have wolf ears. But Reagan got tired of having to draw those, so she got rid of them. But yeah, that's a bit about Lily and Logan. Reagan has had them for many years. I feel like she created them when she was like 12 or something. She was pretty young. Because I had colored Logan's skin, coloring Lily's skin felt way less chaotic. At this point, I had a better idea of the process and what I was going for. I would lay down the more pinky color, go over it with the more muted colors to tone it down, and so on. I was going to skip over the footage of coloring Logan's hair and talk about the process when coloring Lily's hair because I want to talk about them pretty equally, but some of the footage didn't get captured when I was coloring her hair, so we're going to talk about Logan's hair instead. They both have black hair, but for the base color, I'm using a lighter gray because I didn't want the hair to feel too harsh. I also wanted it to fade into the skin tone, so I applied the skin tone at the tips of the hair, and I would also blend out the gray with the skin tone. Once the base color was down, I started going in with a darker gray. I put it on the underneath side of the hair and also the lower part of the hair. I decided to do something maybe a bit different, and I'm not even totally sure why I chose this route, but I decided to add shadow where I usually add highlight. A lot of times I do this with really light hair colors like white or blonde, but for some reason I decided to do it here even though the hair is a really darker color. I don't dislike my choice. I feel like it did result with a shiny look, and I'll add the white highlights with a paint pen later. While doing this, I'm making sure to work quickly and blend out the shadow colors with the base color. Once I got the first shadow laid down, I go in with an even darker gray. I do kind of question if I should have used a darker base color. I ended up not pushing out the shadows as much as I was thinking I would, but I think the lighter color is kind of cute and keeps things from getting too heavy. Oh, also I just noticed I never said if my boyfriend made it back home safely. Yeah, he made it home safe. He was able to avoid the bad weather, thankfully. Also, I'm still calling him my boyfriend, but he said I could say his name in videos. His name is Joshua. It's kind of funny because, as some of you may know, I have a brother named Joshua. But thankfully, my brother Joshua has never liked being called Josh, and we have never called him that. So my Joshua is called Josh, whereas my brother Joshua is either called Joshua, Joshi, Jebwa, or Shishi. And I'm not going to take the time to explain all those nicknames. I know some of them are weird. However, my dad always confuses me because he doesn't really like to use nicknames, so he always calls my Josh Joshua, and sometimes it's hard to tell who he's talking about. But now I just assume if he asks me about a Joshua, he means my Josh. Oh, and it may be inaccurate to call Josh my boyfriend because he's no longer my boyfriend. He's my fiance. You may have noticed the ring at the start of the video. This is actually a placeholder ring. My ring wasn't ready, but Josh wanted to propose on Valentine's Day, so he proposed in a Culver's on Valentine's Day with a spoon. It's a long story and it might need its own animated story time. But yeah, I'm engaged. It was my first Valentine's Day being not single, and I got engaged on it. Easily the best Valentine's Day ever. But now I have to start planning a wedding, and I have no idea how to do that. Anyways, enough about me, back to the picture. Logan and Lily both have red eyes, but it is a very dark red. Back when Reagan first made them, they were kind of more edgy, I suppose, but as she has developed them, they've become not edgy. She's thought about changing the eyes, but in her head, it just wouldn't feel like them if she changed it. But to make them seem less scary, she now makes the red more dark and muted, and not like bam, red. I kept debating if I wanted to make Logan's hood green. I wanted to include some orange on Lily and green on Logan, but I wasn't sure how I felt about it. At first I made the hood white and shaded it with blue, but I didn't like how it blended it in with the paper, so I decided to risk it and made it green. I don't know if it's like my most favorite thing ever, but I like it more than just the white, so that's good. Now we are going into the finishing touches. I'm filling in the stripes of color, adding highlights with paint, and adding a bit more shading with color pencil. So what are my thoughts on the Kaala Ohuhu markers? I think they are very nice. They blended wonderfully. I like the barrel shape because they don't roll around too much. Also, I kind of like how the bullet nib caps don't have numbers on them because I can just take a bunch of the caps off and on and not have to worry about matching them. I do kind of wish that the colorless blender fit into the carrying cases. I'm not sure why they make those be separate outside of the case. I also wish the color swatch charts could fit in the case without needing to bend them. I also do find it a bit odd that there are duplicate colors between sets because a lot of times people will buy the different sets of markers or all of the sets. So it'd be nice to not get duplicates. But these are all just small critiques. I do really like the slim broad chisel nib and the way it comes to a finer edge. It's really nice and I was able to fill in tinier areas. If you're looking for some nice starter sets for markers, I think these are a really nice option. There are links in the description if you want to check them out. My time with them was really nice and I'm really pleased with how the coloring turned out. Also, thank you to my sister Reagan for letting me draw her characters, and happy birthday. You're turning 17 this year and you're almost an adult. You're growing into a wonderful woman and I love you very much. Happy birthday, Reagan, and I hope you like the picture. I had a lot of fun working on it and drawing your characters together. Like I said, I'm kind of surprised I haven't done it till now. Also, here's the digital scanned version, and I did do a bit of tweaking to it to make it a little bit more towards my liking. But not too much, I still wanted it to look pretty much the same. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and before we end, I want to say a super big thank you to my wonderful YouTube members and Patreon patrons. Your support means so much to me. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!